Just before we start podcast, we would like to invite you to get a copy of our new book called Living from Your Art. You can find it on any Amazon platform. You will see it's a very bright colored orange and yellow book cover, and it was made for you artists because you help us live in a better world. We want to help you get more work. So thank you so much, and let's start this podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living from Your Art podcast. I am your host, Eli. It's funny how I'm always looking to look at the camera, but I like to look at my face. So I'll look at my face. So anyway, today I have an amazing guest. I found her online. She's a very successful painter, and I really like what she does. So I think you will like her as well. So welcome to another episode of the Living from Your Art podcast. I want you to open up your horizon as an artist and see that there are many opportunities. All right, so let's welcome my guest, Shaz Taylor.
Thank you. So happy to be here. I feel the confetti falling from the sky.
Oh, amazing. I love it. It was not planned. It was not planned. So, well, thanks for accepting my offer. We don't really know each other.
No, we
right?
do not. No.
Exactly. So thanks for being nice enough to accept my offer to be on the podcast.
Oh, it's my
I'm
pleasure.
really happy. Amazing.
Absolutely. Thank
All right.
you. Thank you for having me.
Who is Shaz Taylor? So please present yourself and what you do very quickly.
Sure. Well, my name is Shaz Taylor. I like to introduce myself as the only visual artist that paints assets by offering opportunities for my collectors to build wealth by collecting my art for themselves or the communities in which they care about most.
Wow, what a good
Yeah.
pitch! I love it. Like it's kind of an elevator pitch you can do in an elevator, like for 15 seconds.
That's the goal. Like 10 seconds or less.
I love it. I love it. Okay, perfect. So let's start with the first question.
Sure.
All right. So as a kid, were you an entrepreneur?
Was I a what?
An entrepreneur, like were you selling like lemonade or on the street?
Oh, you're
as a kid?
No, not at all. I don't even think I heard the word entrepreneur until almost an adult. Yeah. Never didn't it wasn't even a concept or an option that you could even work for yourself. It was always you get good grades, you go to school, you go to work for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like it was never even an option. So for me, it was a lot of unlearning and relearning to do and opening up opportunities to realize that I even could do that. You know what I'm saying? So definitely as a kid, no.
Interesting. So your parents were not like working for themselves; they were working as a job. And
absolutely, yes. My mother was a teacher, and my father was a police officer.
wow, so it's very like standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And I like as a kid, were you an artist already?
Oh yeah. I'm getting payback right now because I used to get in trouble for drawing on the walls, and my kids do the same thing to me. So thank goodness for magic erasers because I was getting in trouble.
Oh,
okay. Yes.
You were
I used
painting
to
on,
do
on
sneaky
your
stuff like move the furniture and draw on the wall and then move the furniture back.
Oh my
I
God.
was that child.
What a good strategy. I love it. Okay, so it's been a while. And like tell me a bit about your background. Like what did you do for school and for work at the beginning of your career?
Absolutely. So after graduating high school, I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I went there for interior architecture, but I was accepted based off my paintings. So in my brain at that time, I was like, look, I'm not going to go here. I'm going to go to art school, but I'm going to study architecture because I want them to teach me something I don't know. I'm not going to study painting because I taught myself. So teach me something. I don't know. And that was my other passion. I've always loved art and architecture. So I went there, studied interior architecture, got in from my paintings. And after I graduated, I went straight into high-end residential design. And I did that for a few years. And I love the idea of it. But once I started doing it, I was like, is this it? Is this the rest of my life? Like, it wasn't giving me everything that I thought it would be, so to speak, dealing with high-end residential clients. So I was like, oh, maybe I should try to get into commercial design or something like that, trying to figure it out. Um, but then I got laid off from that job and I started teaching art to kids. So I did fifth grade art and I was an art teacher. And bless everybody's heart, because that did not pay enough. Okay. Like architecture and then going straight to teaching, I was like, paycheck working a little low. So after I couldn't do that anymore, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to school. And while I was in undergrad, I got really interested in like film architecture. So I ended up moving from Chicago to Los Angeles, California, and I went to American Film Institute and got my master's in production design.
Wow.
And so immediately within that, started working in the film and television industry in the art departments and got into the Art Directors Guild Local 800 as an assistant art director and worked on plenty of commercials, television shows, and feature films, and designed, my own feature film that was on TV One, worked on several different networks. And I did that for about 8 years before my husband and I welcomed our first child. And once I did that, I was just like, I don't want to work 15 hours a day with kids. Like, this is crazy. And even though I was all the way in the career and it was a lot of fun, I wasn't creating a lot of artwork. I was kind of doing it in between while on hiatus. So when it came to even selling my artwork, it was always like a hit or miss. Like, I was more interested in showcasing my artwork on set and, renting it out to be on different sets because of my connections in the industry. But I didn't even wrap my brain around selling it, even though I did have a solo show in between, like when I got laid off from the architecture firm. But before I started teaching art, I had like this big exhibition and I sold a bunch of paintings. That should have been my first clue that I should have started selling it then. But I didn't. I completely kind of didn't. I didn't even, again, wasn't taught about the word entrepreneur. It didn't even click that I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Even though I made money, I was just like, all right, so what's next? Like, where can I get that next steady paycheck? And I would say the entertainment industry definitely prepared me for entrepreneurship, because when it comes to television and film, you get laid off all the time. When the show is over, season's wrapped. Like, hopefully you'll be back next season, but there's no guarantee. So I would say it definitely put me in a position to be very prepared to work for myself as an artist, because it's like, okay, I sell that painting. I don't know when the next one's gonna come. There's no guarantee. So mentally, I was already prepared from what I've done previously. So that's a little bit about my background. I have not been painting this entire time. On and off, on and off,
Wow.
on and off. Yes.
Crazy. Well, thanks for that. It gives me more perspective on your background and your route that you took. So let me show you. Let me show the people what you do a little bit. I'll show the picture you sent me so they can see more. And it's funny, when I show the picture, we can still see each other on the sides.
Okay.
So this is a pink one. I love it. Same hair.
Thank you. Yeah. I want to match my painting that day.
This one is amazing. I
Thank
love
you
the
so
gold.
much. Thank you. Match my
Wow.
black star sapphire. Yeah. Thank
So
you.
talented.
Thank you.
Here you're just smiling. This is just a piece of art, a smile. I love it. and this
Thank
is
you so much.
the last one. So if you have any question, people who watching right now, if you have any question for Shaz, please put in the comments and let us know if you know Shaz already. And if you don't, well,
That's okay.
welcome. Um, so, all right. So let's go to the next question.
Sure.
Um, when you switched to being wanted to be a full-time artist,
Yes.
how did it happen? Like, what did your husband say, or like, was it welcome that you decided to do this, or like, how did it go?
Okay, so my family have always been super supportive of my art, right? I didn't come from a family where they were like, painful. No, you shouldn't. Like, they were always like, when are you gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? And I just wouldn't. But when it came down to where I was just like, okay, I need to focus on my art again. There were several times where I was just like, I need to focus on my art, and then I would get away from it. So I would say for the third time, um, I think I established, like my business and everything in 2018. But it was in 2021. Wasn't it 2021? Yes, it was in 2021. And I have to say, the pandemic was a lot for everybody, but for myself, it was a benefit because everything was quiet. You couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, and you had to sit with yourself and think, right? And during that time, well, first of all, I'm not even a drinker, but during the pandemic, I was getting a bottle of wine every time I went to the grocery store because that was the only place I was going was the grocery store. And I was like, oh, I'm drinking this wine. I'm like, what do I want to figure out? What do I want to do with my life? And I was like, I really need to start focusing on my artwork again. And what kicked it in gear was everything was shutting down, and my daughter's school was shutting down, so she couldn't go to school, and I couldn't go to work. So I was going to work, but I couldn't show up. So it was kind of like, okay, well, what do I do now? And I ended up trying to work for like the staging company. And I was like still working in the design field. And I worked for the worst staging company in Baltimore. Okay. I kid you not. Like, it was a horrible experience.
Wow.
And I ended up working and not getting paid. Like, 2 paychecks, like a whole month. They just didn't even pay me. And I was just like, you know what? If I'm gonna work for free, I might as well work for myself. Like, I had it up to here. You know what I'm saying? Being taken advantage of. I've done paint parties in the past and stuff, and people trying to take advantage of my art. So I was like, I just had it up to here. And I was just like, forget it. I'm focusing on my art for real this time. I need to be educated. And my husband was like, okay, it's time, we're going to call this the summer of Shaz. And that was the summer of 2021. And I started to look for courses and things to educate myself in the space in which I wanted to thrive. And so, just one class after another. I didn't do too many, but I did a couple small ones and it didn't really benefit me. So I was like, oh, maybe I need to spend some more money. $80 classes is not going to do it. And then I took one class that kind of helped me with my abstract skills. And then the next class that I took helped me with learning how to sell my art online. Now, that was the class where I started, where my investment really turned over, because I was able to hire a mentor and work with someone directly. And once I understood the concept of how to sell art online versus in person, because in person I was okay, but online I had no idea. Once I figured it out how to do it and share my art and put myself out there online, it was over. I was like,
Wow.
huh, I'm never gonna work for anyone else. Never. Like, so yes, I am. This is it. I'm
Wow.
committed for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good thing that you decided to invest in some courses and learn. I
Hmm.
think that learning to sell, most artists are having difficulties with this. If you were
Absolutely.
already good in person, that was already good for you. But to do it
I was all right.
online, it was all right. Okay.
I was all right. I'm better now
Okay.
after, being trained. But in person, I was all right, but I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't where I am now, I should say, for sure.
Love it. Yeah, it's usually the parts we don't want to look at. Like, oh no, I
Oh
just
yeah.
want to create.
Yeah,
Don't ask me to
man,
sell.
the selling part before, it was more like, oh, you see it? Yeah, I did it. If you want it, let me know. Like, I didn't, there was no
Let me
conversation.
know. Call me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's up to you. It was terrible. And so, yeah, I did sell originals in person, but I would say that I have much more confidence and I can carry myself in a way to get the prices for the work that I want now versus where before I couldn't even articulate, you know, um, how to go about selling it. So,
Love it. I'm so happy. Okay, good. I love it. I'm glad that you're able to sell it now. Um, and what was actually the first painting that you sold? Do you remember?
oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. The first painting that I sold was in 2008. Yeah, that first show that I did in between the late getting laid off and I sold a bunch of stuff. Yeah, that was the very first painting I sold. They ended up buying two paintings. Actually, no, I sold six paintings in that show, but it wasn't that day. It was like people went to the show and then it was like a trickle down effect. So because of that show, I ended up selling several pieces, but it took some time. But yes, the very first painting I sold was actually a nude
Mm.
woman of a body wave. So she's in gold, and then like the wave, she's in gold from the sunlight, and then it just she curves into the ocean. So her hair is like flipping of the ocean. So that was like the first piece that I sold, and then that person also bought my Saturn, which is a woman with like an afro, and it looks like a ring around her head. Where, depending on how you look at it, it could look like a hat, but it's definitely the planet Saturn. So that's like one of the video reels that you can find on my Instagram. So that person bought those two pieces, and that was like the first painting I sold back in 2008.
Do you
Yeah.
remember how much you sold it back then?
No,
No, probably not enough.
I know, probably no, probably not enough, but it was a lot of money to me then. I think I sold each piece. Um, it was in the thousands, but it was like maybe one piece. I think I sold it for like 1,800, and then like the other piece I sold it for like 2,000. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's still good.
Yeah, and it was like the first one. So I just in my head I was like, I'm not selling a painting under $1,000. I have plenty of time. I'm not saying I shouldn't, but they were pretty big, significant pieces. So I was just like, yeah, I want at least 1,000. So
Wow,
that's what I did
congrats.
for the
I
first
mean, it's
painting.
it's a very high price for the first sell. Usually artists will sell for a couple hundreds and start with this. So
Oh well, I came out swinging, and let me tell you why. Because I came from a family of artists. Now I have a cousin who is a professional artist. So I would go to his shows, and I didn't even really know all his prices, but I went to like, poetry sets and art shows, and I was already seeing other people's prices. So I was already like in the world of, seeing what other people were selling their stuff for. So in my head, I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So why am I about to sell my stuff for pennies? They're not selling their stuff for pennies. So yeah, the first art piece, I was like, I want $2,000, yes, and please, and thank you. So that's what I did.
wow. So that
Yeah,
really helped you to wrap your head around like having a higher price.
it was around higher prices immediately out the gate. I will say the pieces that I sold for lower prices was after years of the world just kind of beating you up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but some artists have an issue with feeling worthy. And so your prices I'm not saying this is true, but they can have a slight reflection on your inner self, you know? So when I wasn't feeling good about myself, I guarantee you, my prices were lower. You gotta steal if you bought anything for two or
Yeah.
$400 or $500. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't feeling it. I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll take 400, but like that feeling is more for me, it's like 90-10. I don't feel like that all the time. And so I do a lot of work to not stay there. And if I am in the funk about something, because everybody gets in the funk, I'm not even going to try to sell anything because I don't want to sell myself short.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I think you're right. I think it really relates with self-confidence.
Yeah,
And when you don't feel confident about yourself or whatever is happening, I mean, we all have these ups and downs in life, whatever happens.
absolutely.
So yeah, I agree. But to have the experience, like the way I see it is when you can sell at a higher price and experiment it, when you can
Yeah,
experiment the fact to receive a lot of money for your art
yeah.
the first time, then it becomes real that it's possible.
Correct.
So that's very good that you started with a high price. All right, you lowered a couple of years ago. After that, whatever failures, whatever happens, but
Yeah,
it was still real that you could sell it for more. So that's good.
yeah, yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with what I was exposed to. You know, so I would have to say I appreciate that I had that exposure, because if I didn't have that exposure, if I wasn't around art, if I didn't know anybody that could sell art, then I probably would have naturally just done it at a much lower price, because we all do that. I mean, even when I started selling my work, after I started working with a mentor, the prices that I was asking for was only just double what I had did, 20, there's a lot of years between 2008 and 2021, right? So I didn't even like raise the price. It's like, oh, I sold the painting for $1,000 or $2,000, but then again, I started selling it. I was like, well, I'm gonna do 3,000 now. Like that's not a huge jump. You know what I'm saying? And so like my husband, he was just like, that's a lot of money. Oh, and I was like, he was just like, for real, you gonna do that? I was like, yeah, because I'm thinking about not just the time and what I put in it. I'm thinking about like, if I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna get paid what I'm worth. And I also know that I for me it's more about quality and not quantity. So I don't have a ton of paintings. Like I'm gonna have a few really, really beautiful paintings, and I'm going to package it beautifully and send it with care. And that costs money. You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to get my artwork in a TV box from Home Depot, okay? Like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get a reused Amazon box. Like, it's going to be beautiful. So, and that comes with, a price.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the business. What's your business model? Like decision about your business model. I
Yeah.
mean, some will go into quantity, some will go into quality, some
Yeah.
will go into both if they can.
If they can. Yeah.
Uh, you have like children, so there's all this balance that you kind of decide. So yeah, I love it, and I like the fact that because you were already in this world, I don't know, I come back with this. You were already in this artist world, and you were able to observe and
Hmm.
see the prices, and that the
Hmm.
paintings were actually selling for this.
Hmm.
It put a reality in your mind that it was possible, and I think that's what's missing for most artists. That's very
Oh yeah.
interesting.
I agree. And here's the thing. I knew it was possible, but I still went through the mental gymnastics of, well, I don't know if it was possible for me. Maybe that was a fluke. It was so many years ago. I don't have a connection. Like even after you sell and you get that, you can still fall into a, well, because that was the first sale was in person, right? So I didn't know how to do it online. And after the pandemic, I was not leaving my house. Like you can forget about it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna be in the Rona. No. Like, so it was definitely more challenging. to sell artwork to a stranger that never met me on the internet versus meeting me in person and, knowing my cousin's aunt, brother, sister-in-law. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Yeah.
no connection whatsoever. And then and learning the process of them falling in love with my art and getting it to them, like for them to trust me to do that, that was all new for me.
Wow.
So
Well, thanks for the person who helped you. I think it's a Geroid, right? At
yes,
Artist Rise, because I found you with his online ad. This is why I found you. So thank you so much to him to teach all these amazing artists. I believe that more coaches and mentors like this should exist,
absolutely.
because it's not that hard when you're getting help to focus on the right things, on what to
Correct.
do specifically, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I think a lot of artists, well, here's the thing. I was looking for a mentor for years before I even found Droid and Artist Rise. And it was just like I'm out there searching, 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 and I couldn't find one. So I already kind of felt and knew that I needed one, right? Because I feel like the best teacher is someone that has done it and can show you exactly where you need to go. And I think most artists need to find someone that can show them exactly where they want to go. So it depends on your goals to
Yeah.
find the right mentor for you. And a lot of artists, they don't even try to find one. Like they're just
Oh.
like, oh, I could do this by myself. I got this. It's like, okay, you got
Go ahead.
it. Like you don't want no help. Fine. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just give birth in the woods with nobody helping me. Like, why would you do that? You should find someone to help you.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to find someone. So when I finally did get a mentor, it was just like it was it was like you feel your life expanding instead of contracting. And when you feel your life expanding, then you've made a good decision and taken
Wow.
steps to, you know, cultivate your future. And I think that's really important for artists to do is to actively take steps to change whatever it is that you don't like. If you want help in whatever area that may be, you need to, you know, take into those steps and invest in yourself and pay the money because nobody's going to do it for free. It's just not going
Yeah,
to happen,
very true.
you know?
I love it. I love it. It's one of the chapter of my book. Find a mentor, find a coach that actually made it.
Yes.
So that's very true, and they're all over, and most of them. I mean, Geroid started his course, but there's plenty of them who are actually not even offering their services because they don't think about it. I mean, you could be a mentor or a coach to other artists, you know. So
Yeah.
many artists successful like you have the possibility to do this. And if somebody comes up to you and asks, "Can you help me?" You have the possibility to say yes or no or maybe or
I
you know.
already get that a lot, actually,
Yeah.
like I've gotten several people in the past, I would say at least 18 months that come in my inbox asking for help. And I felt like I was like, I'm too thick in my own sauce to help anybody, which I get, but I've actually, so the last person that came in to ask me, I've actually am going to start helping them, but I'm going to start next year, so people that have come to me that ask if they want it, I am open to it in 2024.
Ah, interesting. But that's good because I think that for me, like I help artists as well, and I choose who I help because I maybe you'll agree with me on this that you have to be coachable for the coaching to work. Um,
Exactly. You can't work with someone that's not willing to hear it.
yeah.
So I'm sure, like you with your clients, you probably ask them a series of questions just to make sure it's going to be a right fit. And if someone is coachable and willing and has an open mind, then that's sweet sauce, right?
I mean, you're helping them and they're helping you because helping someone for me is, of course, they pay me, but it's the best pay to feel that you really helped someone.
Yeah.
in many
Absolutely.
aspects of their life. Because as you said, as an artist, when you don't feel right, it's very related to your art.
Absolutely. I think
So,
it's a direct reflection.
yeah.
It's a direct, whether you're selling or not, it relates. It all intertwines for sure. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, so cool. All right, so let's go in the real questions. I have so many questions that just not in the questions, but let's be official and
Yes,
ask
true.
official questions. Oh. Okay. Um, well, what do you do on a day-to-day basis to find new clients? Like, do you have a process that you do? Like,
Yes, and it's always evolving because I have small children. So it's tiny evolving. So um what I do on a day-to-day basis. Well, when I started, I was sharing my groups mainly not sharing my groups. I was sharing my artwork mainly on Facebook. And I was also homeschooling and nursing. So that was fun. And that was like the only areas that I was sharing my artwork. But then as things evolved and my art started to pick up more, like I started to sell a lot more, I started to start touching into other social media platforms. I know some artists do really well with TikTok and some even sell on YouTube. And I right now I'm mainly on Instagram. I still share on Facebook, but not as much. I'm sharing more on Instagram. So you can almost kind of pick your poison or whatever, you know, bothers you the least, I should say. But and here's the thing, I will share my work on these social platforms, but I don't share it every day because that's not realistic for me. I shoot for I shoot for like 1 to 3 times a week sharing my stuff online. But here's the kicker. I have a process where when I am booked for a commission, I don't want to share online because the person found me online. So if I share, they're going to see their own work before and I don't want everybody else to see their work before they see their work. So I'll go through these phases where I don't even share anything. It's like, I don't know what happened to Shaz. Where is she? She's sharing that same old pain again. You know what I'm saying? That's because I'm working on other stuff. That's none of your business. And then I'll share that. So I've been booked up with commissions pretty much since June. I'm booked up until February of next year. So I just shared a piece this week that went to Switzerland. And I just finished a painting today. So I'm meeting with my photographer next week. We're going to photograph it, yada, yada. I'm going to ship it out to my client. Once they receive it, then I'll share it online. So my posts are like really, really delayed and they're few and in between, but it still works. So it's like for artists that can create stuff in high volume, or if they don't have spouse and children and they can just paint all that, they can probably share, 5, 6 posts a week and post every day. I can't do that. Shaz isn't doing that. Shaz has other responsibilities. Okay, more power to you. I hope you work it out. But I'm mine is kind of more like if I could share 1 or 2 paintings a month, it's a win. Otherwise, I'm going to be sharing a few of the. And plus, on top of that, I don't like to share one piece one time. Because the way it works online is that it just depends on who's going to see it. So I will share the same artwork um probably at least 6 to 10 times minimum. But if it sells, I'm probably going to show it maybe a few more times even after it's sold because I'll sell prints specifically.
oh,
So I don't I think some artists be like, oh, I shared my art and nobody liked it. Oh, I can't share it again. No, keep sharing and share it again and again and again and again and again because you know what I'm saying? Like that's how people see it. And sometimes when you share it online, it's going to show to different people. So on a day-to-day basis for me, I will wake up, get my kids out, my daughter out to school, my son off to the nanny. She comes in my home and I will get as much. I'm in front of the computer more than often. I'll get on the computer, I'll do some research, I'll work on what I'm going to eventually share, and then I will paint for several hours and, try to knock out all the paperwork. But if I can paint, I don't paint every day, but the days where I do paint, if I can paint for a minimum of 4 hours, that's a great day for me. Anybody that can paint all day, I'm jealous of you. But that's just not my reality. I would say for me, I end up doing more marketing of my artwork than painting it. It's more like
Well, that's
80
good.
20.
That's
Yeah,
actually very good because this is how you run a business.
pretty much. People say sometimes, I've heard artists say, "Oh, I want my art to sell itself." Well, it doesn't. It's not going to. It doesn't have legs. It's not going to talk. It's not going to sell itself. I'm sorry. You have to do the work,
Yeah, tell me about this. Tell me about this. Like, because this is the kind of false ideas I want to crush, like how
Yeah.
it's so beautiful, it's gonna sell itself. Because I have the opinion that you can have the best painter in the world and like a good painter, but if the best painter is hiding in his basement,
No one's going to see it.
yeah,
No one's going to see it. The That's the thing. When it comes to having is you got to have several skill sets, right? And so I have seen, and art is subjective, so everybody can have their own opinion, right? But I have personally seen people make so much money off of art that I'm just like, really? Like they don't have the best skills when it comes to the artwork, but their marketing skills is,
yes,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
So some people, some artists, I should say, are like, maybe it's the artwork. No, baby, maybe it is your marketing. Maybe it is your conversations. Maybe it is how you're showing up, you know what I mean, to the world around you. So I think if more artists can work on their business and marketing, then they will sell more work. Period. Period. Because it is a business and you have to have those skill sets, whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah, so true. No, I love it. I love it. It's to put like it's always a thing like confronting what is the hardest part or the part that you don't want to look.
Yeah, you don't want to look. But
So,
I say you have to. I mean, it depends on your goals. Like some people don't even want to sell, but they also say they want to sell their art and they want to make a living off your art, but then they don't want to do the selling. They rather someone else do the selling for you. And it's like, okay, you can have someone else sell it for you, and they're gonna take their cut. So
yeah,
pick your point. You're gonna pay either way. You're either gonna pay your time and energy and educating yourself, or you're gonna pay someone else to do the work for
it's true.
you.
And online, like do people find you? Like do buyers find you or you find them and you get in communication with them?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yes. Some people find me. I don't know how they found me. I don't know. I don't know how they found me. I'm just like, I'm glad you did. But then there's some where I'm just like actively casting a net in a sense. And fingers crossed, whoever sees it. But I don't, my approach, I don't pressure anybody into anything. I don't try to sell them anything. I'm more like, I'm going to share my work. And if you love it enough, you're gonna let me know, right? And then
Yeah.
we can talk about it. But I don't ask anybody to buy my work. Like
Okay.
most of the people that have purchased my work ask me if it's for sale,
Oh
you
wow.
know? So that's kind of my approach. Like the first person that I sold online to that didn't know me asked if it was for sale. And it was a painting I wasn't trying to sell. I was like, I guess,
Wow.
you
Well, I
know?
love this. That means it's really attracting its specific niche of people.
Yes, yes. So I kind of shoot for that. I try to put myself where I think they'll be and, you know, see what happens. And if something happens, I'll stay. If nothing happens, I'll go try to find somewhere else where my buyers are going to be. So
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, it's constant testing,
Yeah.
and looking for different places of where your specific buyers hang out online or in person because you could definitely do both.
I love this. We all have the same viewpoints. I love it. I'm glad that you're in my interview.
Thank you.
All right. Um, what is the best advice that you've received for regarding your art business?
The best advice? Oh, what is the best advice that
A
I
good one.
received? Oh, the best. Okay, the best advice I receive a lot of great advice from my mentor, but the best advice came from my cousin, and he's also a professional artist, and he told me, "You're only gonna get out of it what you put into it."
Oh
That was
wow.
the best. Like, so every time I think about what my goal is, I'm only gonna get out of it what I put into it. So if I put in nothing, I'm gonna get nothing. If I put in the work, I'm gonna reap the benefits. So I would say that's like the best advice because I didn't even realize. I mean, I think sometimes you can say what you want to do, but you're not actually doing anything. You're just talking about it. You gotta stop talking
Mm,
about it and you gotta actually do the work. You know what I mean? So I would say that's like the best advice that I've received.
it's so true. It's like a flow. You
Hmm.
give energy and you receive energy from it. Like, but
Exactly.
if you don't send the first flow of energy,
You forget about it. You can forget about it.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a
Don't
very
talk
good
about it. Be
advice.
about it. Like do the work.
Yeah, and I think the ability to actually realize when you're all because you're all by yourself usually when you're an artist, like you don't really work in a group.
Yeah, it's kind of isolating.
Yeah, so when you realize that you're actually alone and then you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I think the ability to take yourself by the neck and
Yeah.
pitch yourself into what you're supposed to do is a great ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would consider myself more like an extrovert introvert instead of the other way around. So I like working in groups. I love working with other people. Every single job that I've ever had, I'm like, that is just it's well, not every job. I told you about the terrible, but most places that I work, it's like fun for me to be around other creative, like-minded individuals. I love it. Like the perfect setup for me personally, I would love to have a studio in a space that is around other people doing similar things, like not just painters, but like sculptors and people that carve wood or make blow glass. Like I don't care what you do. Like I would love to be in a space like that because that to me is like really, really inspiring and almost be an open studio space. But I don't have that. So I kind of have to like go around the block in a sense. But yes, being an artist can be really isolating. So when you get in the funk about something, it's like you have to pull yourself out because no one else is gonna
Yeah.
do it, you know? Like it's so it's a lot more what do I say, mental gymnastics to do that. So you just have to have more discipline than
Yeah.
other people, you know? And if you can get that down and stay upbeat or find a community in a sense, whether it's with other entrepreneurs or whether in other businesses or whether it's other people that are doing the same thing as you to kind of keep that motivation going, I think that's also very helpful as well.
Yeah. Yeah. To feel the kind of same direction, going in
Mm-hmm.
the same direction as others and being able to share because sometimes just being able to let it out like, oh, I feel like shit, I don't like
Mm-hmm.
just to be able to speak with others about this and say like it's fine, it will
Yep.
go, you will go through it, you're fine.
Yeah,
And then
and definitely like that collaboration of research and understanding and ideas and learning from other people's mistakes. Oh my God, that goes
yeah,
a long way. So, finding a community is also really because artists make mistakes. That's how we learn. Like you mess up in the studio and you're like, oh, how did I do that? I don't know. Let me see if I can mess up again. Like that is literally how you learn with anything.
mm,
So I learn from other people's mistakes all the time. I'm a vicarious learner. I don't have to go through it myself.
yeah, I mean it's you save time.
Absolutely. So I think that also helps. And I think before that, I didn't really have a sense of community at all. So I was just winging it. You know what I'm saying? Just winging it and making a gazillion mistakes and be like, okay, well, won't do that next time. And you just go through it, but you go through it at a slower pace. So if you can get a mentor and find a community, it just you your success rate, I would say, is a lot faster. Like you can just shoot up for sure.
Yeah, it's exponential. You get more, how you say this, you get more for your buck. What's the
Yeah,
expression?
more bang for your buck. More.
More bang for your buck. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
like, do you feel like, I think you said it, but I want to hear it from you. Like, do you feel that communicating more, sending more communications out, will result in more opportunities for you as an artist?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Sharing is caring. But I also feel like that it has to be on the right set of ears. Like you can say things, but if you're not speaking it to anyone that, like we said before, people that are not coachable, you say things and it's falling on deaf ears, then you know
It has to be the
there's
right
no
people.
point. Yeah,
Communicate to the right people.
you gotta know your audience, and you gotta know, whether they're willing to hear it or not. So I don't run around offering my I don't run around offering unsolicited advice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So I say, if you want to know something, you better ask somebody. Like closed mouths don't get fed. So when artists do come and ask me for advice, for the most part, I'm receptive. There were phases where I had like too many people in my inbox asking me a bunch of questions, and I was just like, what? Like why? And it just got to the point where I was just like, this is too much. But because I was focused on my own stuff, but I'm more, like I said, I'm more receptive about it. So that's why I'm open to helping more artists and definitely guiding them in a direction. Because I remember when I didn't know anything and I was asking everybody in my world and nobody knew anything. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to keep pushing to get the answers because they will come.
You'll find the right one.
Absolutely.
All right. And what's the goal for Shaz Taylor in the next 10, 20 years? What are you looking at?
20. I'm like, I'm trying to work on the first three. The next goal for like the 10, 20-year mark, first of all, I think it would be absolutely amazing to have at least a couple books out. At least definitely one, but maybe two to three. That would be amazing. And then another goal of mine is I would like to have like annual exhibitions, but not just like of my work because that's like so selfish. I would like to have collaborations with other artists, music artists, people that dance, like events. Like I would love to just have like create a whole event every single year that features my art, maybe other people's as well. I'll decide that later. But like have a whole event. I would love to have something like that annual. Um, I would like to complete several collections and I would love to um, you know, probably do retreats, like artist retreats, you know what I'm saying? Like just like real chill, have my work out there. I don't really have a huge desire to have my artwork in a bunch of galleries. I'd rather have it in the homes of my buyers, like I'd rather have my artwork. It can be in a gallery for a little bit, but it's in a gallery because my buyer allowed it to be showcased. Like that's my kind of approach to it. It just depends on what you want and what your goals are. And I think I would rather have my artwork in the spaces for the people that appreciate it most and just bring them, peace, love, light, and joy.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. These are great purposes. I love it.
Thank you. Thank
All right. And,
you.
and where can people find you online?
Sure. So online, it's Shaz Taylor Art. That's on Instagram, actually. So it's at Shaz Shaz. Well, my name. It's on the screen, guys. Just throw art at the back of that, and you can find me on Instagram. Yes, that's me at Shaz Taylor Art. And then that's the best place to find me. If anyone messages me there, I'm going to get back to you within 24 hours for sure. if you're talking about something important. If you ain't talking about nothing, honey, it might be a waste. It might be a waste. Just being transparent. Okay. If the message is important, I will reply. And then on Facebook, it's just my name, Shaz Taylor. But my hair is pink on Facebook and blue on Instagram and natural right now. So just
Figure it out.
figure it out. But yes, those are the best places to find me is Facebook, Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I don't use it, so don't find me on there. Okay, same name, but don't look for me over there because I don't really get with the TikTok. Okay, just
Yeah,
I'm
same
not
for
doing it.
me. Same for me. I got an account, but don't find me on there. It's
No, don't. I mean, you can if you really want to, but and I also you're like I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it. I'm gonna use it. Just go through Instagram or Facebook, and if you hate both of those platforms, you can send me an email. But I definitely take some time getting back to you because I told you before. I
okay.
was like, I'm terrible at email. I just, but I'll still check it. But it might be a while.
You're all forgiven. We forgive you in advance.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. I mean, it was amazing.
Oh,
I
my
think we learned a
pleasure.
lot.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it. And I hope people did learn a lot. And I hope I encourage anyone to really, go for it and know that they can make a living from that artwork. It is completely possible.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So I'll remove you from the screen, but stay in the virtual studio. We'll chat a bit, and I'll finish the episode. So thank you so much, Shaz.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye. So thank you so much for watching the show, Shaz. It was amazing. She's a very good artist and living from your heart. So that's the goal. So next week we don't know who will be there. It's a mystery. It's amazing. It's a surprise. So thank you for watching, and until next time, keep creating, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.